Planning Commission. Your participation can occur through written comments about agenda items, which are submitted to staff prior to a meeting. They are always helpful and welcome. And during our meeting, there are two opportunities for members of the public to participate. During verbal communications, an individual may speak on any topic not on the agenda. And during the hearing of a specific agenda item, any member of the public may speak about the item which is on the agenda. If you wish to address the Commission tonight during the verbal communications period or during the consideration of an agenda item, you must join the Zoom webinar via the link and password provided on page 2 of the staff report. When I announce the item for which you wish to speak, click the raise hand feature in Zoom. And if you're participating by phone, press *9 on your telephone keypad. When called to speak, please state your name and address for the record. Alternatively, you may choose to speak anonymously. It is requested that you limit your comments to 3 minutes. Before we begin our formal agenda this evening, on behalf, sorry for that. At this time, we're going to move to verbal communications. Members of the public are invited to address the Commission on any issue not on the agenda. Director Paulson, do we have any members of the public wishing to speak?
We do not, Chair.
All right, thank you for that. The next item is the consent calendar. We have one item to be acted upon with a single motion, which is the approval of the minutes from our April 14, 2021 Planning Commission meeting. Does any commissioner wish to, or member of the public wish to pull the item from the consent calendar? Seeing none, may I have a motion for approval of the consent calendar? Commissioner Suzuki.
Move to approve the consent calendar.
Thank you for that. Is there a second? Commissioner Barnett.
Second.
Thank you for that. We'll now take a roll call vote. Commissioner Hanson.
Yes.
Commissioner Barnett.
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas.
Yes.
Commissioner Suzuki.
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. So the motion passes. We now move on to the public hearing agenda item 2, which is the draft proposed 5-year capital improvement program for fiscal years 2021 through 2022 to 2025-2026. I understand Director Morley will be giving the staff report for this item.
Thank you and good evening, Commissioners. This is a fun item for us. This is the future of our general plan and how we begin to build that general plan out. So with that, I have just a brief presentation for you, and we'll get started on that now with the next slide. So the goal tonight is for the Planning Commission to review the CIP for compliance with the general plan and the North 40 specific plan, and to make associated findings that are outlined in your staff report. Next slide, please. I wanted to talk a little bit about funds for the capital improvement program. We don't have a dedicated source of funding for the program, and that's certainly something the council talks about on a frequent basis. At the year-end close, there's typically a number of dollars that are left behind from operations from the previous year, and those flow down the purple part of this chart and ultimately end up being distributed per council policy. One of the reserves that they flow to is the orange box, which is the capital special project reserve. And that goes towards funding council priorities and ultimately the general fund capital program, which is in the blue box at the very bottom. The next slide, please. So the orange box, we carry on that orange box, the general fund reserves, and we combine that with other funding sources. There's in the GFAR a number of those, including some impact fees, some measure 2016 Measure B transportation fees, sales tax measure, and then other funds like traffic mitigation and grants come together with that, and those provide the funding for our new projects across multiple years. Next slide. We correlate, as we showed in the previous screen, with the council priorities. So those really guide where we're headed with our capital program. And these are some of the items that are in the council priorities that overlap with the capital program. Next slide, please. We separate the CIP into a number of categories. These are the keys for our infrastructure. The biggest by far and our biggest asset in town are our streets. And we consequently spend the most amount of money on our streets. 82% of our capital budget in the next year is proposed to be spent on that category. Our parks and trails follows with our facilities program at 8% and 10% respectively. And together those make up the $25 million proposal, not only of new dollars this coming year, which are somewhat limited, but ongoing dollars that carry in from previous years where projects may span multiple years. Next slide. Our capital program does look at our general plan, and there is quite a bit of support of the general plan. We're looking at the current general plan, not the other general plan that you've been working on for 2040, but the 2020 general plan. In the transportation area, we certainly do quite a few project implementations that support the general plan, including our ADA transition plan that we're starting this year, which will highlight our accommodations for the disabled throughout town, on our streets, sidewalks, in our facilities, in our parks, and on our trails. We also look at multimodal improvements. This year coming, we've got a significant concentration on Shannon Road and on Winchester. And we're pushing hard for some downtown parking improvements in conjunction with our partners in the police department. On the open space, parks, and rec goals and policies portion of the general plan, we are working on a creek trail connector to Highway 9. We are lucky to have some state Proposition 68 grant funds for improvements at Oak Meadow in the bandstand area. And we're continuing to work on capital maintenance in the parks. The next slide. We do concentrate on sustainability and have dedicated resources for that. In the capital program, we have stormwater projects and bike and ped infrastructure. And then in the safety area, we're continuing to move forward with our vegetation management. We did significant work on the roadside vegetation management in the last year. And this year, we're working towards a FEMA grant that will allow us to do significant work in our open space, Santa Rosa, Hines, the Novitiate, and then also in some of our parks like Worcester, where they're sort of undeveloped parkland. And those are mostly in the wildland urban interface areas so that they focus on providing safety to our residents. And then, of course, the multimodal transportation projects overlap here as well and provide safety for folks using all modes of transportation. And next slide, please. So that concludes my report. And of course, I'm available for questions. Just a reminder, the role of the Planning Commission is to review the CIP for its compliance with the general plan and other documents.
Thank you for your report, Director Morley. Do any commissioners have questions for the director at this time? Seeing none, we will now open the public hearing. And as the applicant is the town, I'm assuming Director Morley will be the speaker for the town or the applicant for the town. You have up to 5 minutes to add anything additional to what you've already given us.
Thank you. I have nothing to add at this point.
All right, thank you. Then we will ask any commissioners again if you have any questions for the applicant. You don't see any hands raised. So now we'll move to public comments. Do we have any members of the public who wish to speak at this time?
We do not, Chair.
This is going to be a quick meeting. Okay. Director Morley, you have 3 minutes to, sorry, Commissioner Hanson, I see your hand raised.
You know, I had a couple questions for Director Morley, but why don't we let him see if he has anything he wanted to say in the 3 minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is, we're always proud of the CIP and moving it forward. It's a great opportunity to talk about the projects in the CIP or other areas of capital improvements that you have interest in the town. We certainly don't want to keep Joel awake too long if we don't have to, but we've got a few minutes. We're happy to take questions on the capital improvement program or what's going on around town if you have them.
Great, thank you for that. Commissioner Hanson.
right. So I had a question just about one that has come up before. I noticed that there's a fair amount of improvements, as you noted, that are planned for Shannon Road. And in particular, probably most of the commission doesn't know this, but there was a time when Shannon Road was divided up in piecemeal fashion between the county and the town of Los Gatos. I know some of that has come back. So I wanted to ask Director Morley, is all of it come back?
I would say not all of it, no, but 95% of it. There's still one little section that we missed that ultimately we need to incorporate into the town. But 95% of Shannon Road from the boulevard out to Hicks is now within the town.
Okay, that is really great because it has impacts not only on the capital improvement program but also on police and everything. If a crime happens in one section, it could be the county or the other. So this is all very good news. And then I did have a question. You alluded to this about the 2020 versus 2040 general plan. So I understand from having done this before that we're looking to see that this is in compliance with the 2020 general plan. So my question for you, Director Morley, is we do expect to complete the 2040 general plan update by the end of this year, I believe, is for town council improvements. So how will that flow into the capital improvement program?
So it's certainly something that we're paying attention to, and I think we've been pretty progressive in our capital program. So I think when we look at it and we start to compare what the milestones are with the 2040 general plan, we'll have some good steps in the right direction there, and be making progress already towards capital improvements that support the new general plan. So I'm not worried about that at all. And we'll certainly be back here this time next year, which isn't too far after the new general plan is adopted, to talk to you about how we are complying.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for that. Any other commissioners with questions for Director Morley? I had one. Go ahead, Commissioner Suzuki.
Yeah, this is just a quick question, just a curiosity question, which is the one on sound mitigation in the library lobby. I've never noticed this baffling sound personally, and I was wondering, when did it become a problem? What is the nature of the problem? I guess I'm just curious about it.
Yeah, so I think it's a user experience project. On that particular project, because the surfaces in the lobby are hard surfaces, the sound tends to bounce. And the lobby by its nature is an active place, right? So lots of conversation, which doesn't always align with the rest of the needs of the library for quiet space. So we do find that it's a live space, good amount of noise that's bouncing around. So we're working with the library director to program some softening of the surfaces to absorb some of that sound and keep it from bouncing. This project is actually, I think, being funded by Friends of the Library or either the Friends of the Library or the library's separate reserve that they have set aside. So it's a good project. I think it'll make the library, what is a fabulous library, even more enjoyable.
All right, thank you for that. I did have a question, Director Morley. The plan calls for a widening of Union Avenue. It's not one of the projects that's included in this capital improvement program. My question to you is two-part. One, what section of Union Avenue are you referring to in this plan?
So the section of Union Avenue that is within the town right of way is from Blossom Hill Road to Los Gatos Almaden Road. The short section there, so a good portion of it is unimproved, so there's no sidewalks, especially along the PG&E easement, and so that's the area. And as is typical with our projects, our widening would take the form of more bike and ped friendly improvements versus auto improvements. So that would really be the focus in a project on that stretch.
Great, thank you. That was the answer to my second question, which was, what's the nature of widening, and why would we think about widening when we're actually thinking about narrowing some other areas that are high traffic, high density? So thank you for that. Any other questions for the applicant? All right, seeing none, then I will close the public portion of this hearing. And we go to discussion. Do any commissioners have questions of staff, would like to discuss this matter further, introduce a motion? Commissioner Hanson.
If no one has any questions, I would make a quick comment and then I'm happy to make a motion. I would just say for the benefit of our new commissioners that Director Morley has always done a really awesome job with our capital improvement programs and running our parks and public works, and has been really successful in identifying additional funding sources, and especially in the area of bike and pedestrian improvements. They've made a lot of stuff happen. You can see the results of it all through town. So for me, I'm happy to endorse recommendation of the capital improvement program. And as far as a motion, just checking with staff, we need to find that there's no overall CEQA impact. Is that correct? And that it's in compliance with the general plan and the specific plans that are related to it. Is that correct?
That's correct. And that's laid out on page 3 of 4 in the staff report, just for your reference.
So I'm able to make the findings on page 3 of 4 in our staff report about CEQA and in terms of the capital improvement program compliance. Yep, was.
I'm sorry, it looked like Mr. Schultz was saying something. Okay, never mind.
Okay.
Go ahead. Go on,
Right.
Sorry.
So I moved that we recommend the capital improvement program to town council, and I can make the findings on page 3 of the staff report that there's no issue with CEQA and that the program is in compliance with our general plan and other specific plans.
Thank you for that. Do I have a second? Commissioner Barnett.
I second the motion.
Thank you for that. And before we call the vote, I just wanted to echo Commissioner Hanson's comments. The capital improvement programs, it's such an interesting read. It may seem, to use Commissioner Thomas's words, a little geeky, but it's kind of fun to read through and really understand the depth and breadth that the town undertakes in performing these improvements. And I feel very proud of the report and very grateful that we have the high caliber of staff we do who put it together. So thank you for that. And with that said, I will call the vote. Commissioner Hanson.
Yes.
Commissioner Barnett.
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas.
Yes.
Commissioner Suzuki.
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. So the motion passes unanimously. All right. So now we move on to other business, which includes the report from the Director of Community Development, Director Paulson.
Thank you, Chair. So only a couple items to report. At the last council meeting, they introduced the ordinance to amend the zoning for both Almendra and Tate, and also the subsequent general plan amendment for Tate as well. Those will be going for their second reading and adoption next week at the council meeting. And I believe I will let Commissioner Hanson speak about the excitement at next week's GPAC.
All right, thank you for that report. And so we do move on to subcommittee reports. So we'll go to Commissioner Hanson regarding GPAC.
Thank you, Chair Janoff. And so I'm happy to report since our last Planning Commission meeting, we did have a GPAC meeting on April 15th, which is the day after. And we spent several hours going through the land use and community design elements. And it was an interesting experience because we had more recently finished the community design. So where there was almost no comments on that, whereas we had finished land use before. So there was more comments on that, but we got through all of that. And those were a couple of the most challenging parts and detailed parts of the general plan. So with that in mind, that was our penultimate meeting, and our very final GPAC meeting will be next week on May 6th. It's a special meeting that starts at 6 o'clock. And the entire draft of the general plan 2040 will be distributed to the committee. And we're going to be looking to see, not doing a lot of editing, but to make sure that it complies with the vision and guiding principles, and that we're ready to go ahead and forward a recommendation onto the further elements of the process, which include the EIR review by Planning Commission and the Town Council approval. And that's it.
Thank you for that report. And I'd just like to add that Town Manager Pravetti reminded us at our last prep meeting that this is really a time to celebrate more than a time to hash over more changes to this plan. And it really is, if you think about how much work and time has gone into this process, and thanks to the leadership of Commissioner Chair Hansen, the GPAC has put together a powerful document, in my opinion, and I think it will serve the town well. So I'm looking forward to our last meeting next week, and hope that the commissioners might tune in. You might hear a little bit about the plan. It's coming to you next after the environmental impact report. So it'll be teed up for the Planning Commission's review, and we'll be looking at that probably in the fall. Director Paulson?
Yeah, so we're anticipating this coming to the Planning Commission in the fall after the draft EIR response to comments and final EIR completed. And just for the commissioners and those who are watching, we hope to get the GPAC packet out tomorrow. So that plan will be posted online. We'll do additional outreach once GPAC has completed their work. But for those who want to get a head start and start looking through, if not tomorrow, then for sure by Friday, it will be on the town's website. So please take a look at that, and feel free to contact staff if anyone has any questions, or if you talk to folks in the community and they have questions, you can definitely steer them our way, and we'll see what we can do to answer their questions.
Thank you for that. Yeah, this is a big deal. So it's the end of a phase, but it's not the end of the process. So thanks to everybody who participated. Any other subcommittee reports, CDAC or Historic Preservation?
Not for CDAC.
Okay, thank you. I don't see any hands raised. And so with that, I thank you all for participating, and this meeting is adjourned.